Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, and NBA basketball. So before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. This is the 1-year anniversary of All Sports with Gerardo, coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus. I want to say thank you to everybody that tunes in every week, and I want to say thank you to everybody that views my videos and my content on my social media pages at All Sports with Gerardo. I also want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com/listen every Thursday afternoon from 3:30 to 5 p.m. Thank you to all my listeners. I want to say thank you to everybody that views my videos and my content on all of my social media pages at All Sports with Gerardo. If you haven't, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. Follow my page on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at All Sports with Gerardo. But I want to say thank you to all of my listeners that listen to my show or watch all my videos on my social media pages every week. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. To start off, at the middle every month, I post a video or talk about one stadium I went to, so stay tuned for future videos from stadiums across the U.S. For the month of August, I posted a video where I talk about Oriole Park at Camden Yards and my experience there. You can go watch that video on YouTube. You can also view videos from the past and subscribe to my YouTube page at All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to Major League Baseball. The Major League Baseball Players Weekend is this weekend from August 23rd to August 25th. Clayton Kershaw passed Sandy Koufax on the Dodgers' all-time wins list with 166 career wins among starting pitchers. So I want to say congrats to Clayton Kershaw on achieving this milestone within the Dodgers organization. There's no doubt that Clayton Kershaw is one of the best pitchers to ever pitch for the Dodgers and in Major League Baseball. So when Clayton Kershaw decides to call it a career and hang his jersey, going into the future, there's no doubt we'll see Clayton Kershaw in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Since 1992, the Yankees have had 27 consecutive winning seasons. For the Yankees, there's a reason why they're the 27-time World Series champions. Out of all other Major League Baseball teams, there's no other team that has won the World Series that many times. That's why the Yankees are one of the best, or in my opinion, the best team in Major League Baseball. There's a reason why they've won 27 World Series champions. But not to mention, they've been to the World Series over 50 times throughout their history. So if you don't know about the Yankees' playoff experience, I highly recommend that you check it out. The Yankees are one of the best teams in Major League Baseball and in all of sports. They're great during the regular season, they're great in the postseason, and even when they get to the World Series. So there's a reason why they're the best team in Major League Baseball. Even the years they didn't have the best players in Major League Baseball on their team, or even the years they didn't play like we expect the New York Yankees to play. But the New York Yankees, they're still a great team, especially this season. So we're going to have to wait and see if the Yankees win their 28th World Series in 2019. This season, Mike Trout has hit a career-high 42 home runs this season. The season ain't over yet, so we're going to have to wait and see how many more home runs he hits. But there's no doubt that Mike Trout is one of the individual players that's favored to win the American League MVP this season. This season, Pete Alonso has hit 40 home runs to break the National League rookie record. Now looking at Pete Alonso is on the New York Mets. He has definitely been one of the best rookies, especially in the National League. So after Pete Alonso won the Home Run Derby during the All-Star festivities this season, and he's been having a great season as an individual player and for the Mets, the season ain't over yet. So there's still a lot of time to see what Pete Alonso's going to do. And when the season ends for Pete Alonso and the Mets, there's no doubt that Pete Alonso is one of the individual players that is favored to win National League Rookie of the Year. And I would expect Pete Alonso to win this award. But also, you better keep an eye out for the Mets, because they're starting to play some great baseball now, and they're trying to make it into the postseason. And they really want to win the National League East. But if they don't, they're definitely competing for one of the two wildcard spots in the National League. On Sunday, August 18, Scott Oberg was placed on the 10-day injury list with a blood clot. So unfortunately, this is a huge loss to the Rockies. Since a few weeks ago, the Rockies switched to Scott Oberg from Wade Davis, and they put Scott Oberg as their closer after Wade Davis has been struggling throughout this season. But now that Scott Oberg was placed on the 10-day injured list, the Rockies had no choice and they had to put Wade Davis back into the closer role. And on Sunday, August 18, when the Rockies had a close game against the Marlins in the final game of the series, they had to bring in Wade Davis to close out the game, but unfortunately he let a few runs in. The game got tied. Rockies manager Bud Black came out right away and pulled Wade Davis out. So even now that Wade Davis came back into the closer role, he's still struggling, but we really don't have any other options that are better until Scott Oberg comes back and he's off the 10-day injured list. But this is really bad for the Rockies because Scott Oberg has really been having a great season this year, even going back into the postseason last year. So we hope that Scott Oberg's only on the 10-day injured list. He comes back, he goes back into that closer role, and he can finish out the season for the Rockies, being their closer, and continuing his success on being a great pitcher this season. So we're going to have to wait and see when Scott Oberg returns back to the team for the Rockies. This week, Nolan Arenado played his 1,000th game in a Rockies uniform. There's no doubt that Nolan Arenado is one of the best players to ever play for the Rockies, but especially at third base. Nolan Arenado is also one of the best players in Major League Baseball right now and for the Rockies. So right now I'm going to update you with the current Rockies schedule from this past week, and I'm also going to tell you who the Rockies go against in the next week. So to start off, last weekend, the Rockies were here at Coors Field, and they had a series against the Marlins. In the first game, the Rockies won the game 3-0. In the second game, the Rockies won the game 11-4. And in the third game, the Rockies were able to win a close game 7-6. So overall, the Rockies landed up sweeping the Marlins and winning this 3-game series. It's good that the Rockies were able to win this series against the Marlins, especially with the Marlins being one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball and not having that great of a record this season. If the Rockies would have lost one game or even the entire series against the Marlins, especially here at Coors Field, this would have been really bad. And it would have shown that the Rockies are really bad. And we know this season they're bad, but they're not really, really bad. But if they would have lost to the Marlins, they're really, really bad. So we're going to have to wait and see how the Rockies finish off this season. But overall, if you're continuing to watch the Rockies, even though the NFL season's just around the corner, there's still many reasons to watch the Rockies, especially among their starting pitchers and their starting lineup. So you definitely want to keep an eye out for the Rockies pitchers, because some games they pitch really great and they look like they're the best pitchers. But some days they pitch like they're not really great. So every game's different. Some games the Rockies play really good, they pitch really great. Some days the Rockies don't pitch really great and they don't play really great. So every game's different, and we're just going to have to wait and see how the Rockies play for the rest of the season. But overall, this season has really been a disappointing season for the Rockies, especially coming off the back-to-back postseason appearances. And many people were expecting the Rockies to be competing for the National League West with the Dodgers and get back into the postseason this year. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. The Rockies are going to miss the playoffs this year. And after the season's over, the Rockies are just going to have to turn the page to 2020, improve their team, especially among starting pitchers and within their bullpen. And hopefully in 2020, the Rockies play better and they can get back to the postseason. This week, the Rockies started their road trip and they headed down to Arizona to have a divisional matchup against their divisional rival, the Diamondbacks. In the first game, the Rockies lost the game 3-5. In the second game, the Rockies lost a close game 7-8. And in the final game of this series, the Rockies were able to win 7-2 and have a great game where they actually pitched great. So overall, the Rockies were only able to take one game from the Diamondbacks. This weekend, the Rockies continued their road trip up to St. Louis to go against the Cardinals, which is a 4-game series that starts on Thursday and continues on into Sunday. Then the following week, the Rockies return back to Coors Field to start their week-long homestand, where it starts off with a game against the Braves on Monday, August 26th, which is actually a makeup game back from April 10th, since the last game of the Rockies-Braves series, when the Braves came to Coors Field back in April, was postponed due to weather. So Monday, August 26th was actually supposed to be an off day, but it's actually going to be a makeup game against the Braves. Then going into the week, the Rockies have an interleague matchup against a familiar team that they went against in the 2007 World Series. The Rockies are going against the Boston Red Sox in a 2-game series here at Coors Field during the week. So if you can, I highly recommend that you head out to Coors Field and check out the Rockies Red Sox series. Since the Red Sox don't come out to Denver and play against the Rockies here at Coors Field that often. So the Rockies-Red Sox series is definitely a series I'm looking forward to, and both games should be great. Then going into the weekend, and to finish off August, the Rockies go against the Pirates in a 4-game series, which starts on Thursday and continues on into Sunday here at Coors Field. So this next homestand for the Rockies is definitely going to be a great homestand to finish off August, since the Rockies go against the Braves in the makeup game, the Red Sox in an interleague matchup, and the Pirates to finish off August here at Coors Field. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Rockies-Red Sox games next week. So that's the current Rockies schedule of the final scores and the teams the Rockies went against this past week and who the Rockies go against this week. So right now I'm going to update you with the current Major League Baseball standings in the American and National League. To start off in the American League East, right now the Yankees are leading this division at 83 games, and the next closest team is the Rays by 9 games, and they're sitting at 74 games. In the American League Central, right now the Twins are leading this division at 77 games, and the next closest team is the Indians by 3 games, and they're sitting at 74 games. In the American League West, right now the Astros are leading this division at 81 games, and the next closest team is the Athletics by 7 games, and they're sitting at 73 games. In the National League East, right now the Braves are leading this division at 76 games, and the next closest team is the Nationals by 6 games, and they're sitting at 69 games. In the National League Central, right now the Cubs are leading this division at 69 games, and the next closest team is the Cardinals by 1 game, and they're sitting at 67 games. And in the National League West, right now the Dodgers are leading this division at 84 games, and the next closest team is the Diamondbacks by 20 games, and they're sitting at 64 games. So looking at the divisions in the American and National League, the 2 divisions you definitely want to keep an eye out on is the American League Central and the National League Central. Both these divisions are very tight races right now, so you definitely want to keep an eye out for that going into next week. So that's the current Major League Baseball standings in the American and National League. In the Major League Baseball Power Rankings, the current top 10 Major League Baseball teams are the Dodgers, Astros, Yankees, Twins, Braves, Indians, Rays, Nationals, Cubs, and Cardinals. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. Quarterback Josh McCown is coming out of retirement so he can play his 17th season in the NFL. Josh McCown and the Eagles have agreed to a 1-year contract. Linebacker Jalen Smith and the Cowboys have agreed to a 5-year contract extension. Defensive tackle Damian Harrison and the Lions have agreed to a 1-year contract. Wide receiver Michael Crabtree and the Cardinals have agreed to a 1-year contract. Wide receiver Josh Gordon is being conditionally reinstated, and he will be able to rejoin the Patriots this week. This week, Josh Gordon returned back for the Patriots. Now that Josh Gordon is back for the Patriots, he's practicing and getting ready for the preseason, but especially for the regular season. If Tom Brady and the Patriots but especially Tom Brady has Josh Gordon as a wide receiver weapon, Tom Brady's definitely going to have a great weapon and a great wide receiver to throw the football to. So we're going to have to wait and see how Josh Gordon plays this season for the Patriots. But Tom Brady and the Patriots are definitely looking forward to Josh Gordon. The Patriots released punter Ryan Allen after 6 seasons with the Patriots. Melvin Gordon is expected to hold out into the regular season. So before training camp started, and even during training camp, Melvin Gordon was holding out. Melvin Gordon also stated since he wanted a new contract, if he doesn't get a new contract with the Chargers, since he's one of the best running backs for the Chargers and in the NFL, Melvin Gordon will continue his holdout into the regular season, and he will also request to be traded from the Chargers. So the Melvin Gordon situation is an ongoing situation, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the next few weeks. Now for Ezekiel Elliott, he kind of has the same situation as Melvin Gordon. Before training camp started for the Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott wanted a new contract. And since he didn't get a new contract, before training camp began for the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott started holding out, even going into training camp. And Ezekiel Elliott is continuing his holdout. Ezekiel Elliott is going to wait and see if he gets a new contract in the next few weeks before the regular season begins. But since Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best running backs in the NFL and for the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott definitely wants a new contract. And if he doesn't get a new contract, he's going to continue his holdout into the regular season. So we're going to have to wait and see if Ezekiel Elliott gets a new contract in the next few weeks. Broncos quarterback Drew Lock has been diagnosed with a thumb sprain, and he's expected to miss the rest of the preseason. We're going to have to wait and see, but he could also miss part of the regular season once the regular season begins. Emmanuel Sanders played in the Broncos 49ers preseason game this past week. And this is the first time Emmanuel Sanders has played in a game since tearing his Achilles during practice on December 5th. So the Broncos are happy that they finally got Emmanuel Sanders back at the wide receiver position, especially on the offensive side of the football. An Achilles injury is usually a 9-month recovery, and Emmanuel Sanders was able to recover a lot faster within that 9-month period. Even after Emmanuel Sanders tore his Achilles towards the end of last season, once the season ended, and even before the season ended, Emmanuel Sanders started recovering even before the season ended last year. And he was starting to make that recovery process before the season ended last year. And throughout this past offseason, Emmanuel Sanders did everything he needed throughout these last few months to speed up that recovery process so that he would be ready by time training camp began, or he would be ready during the preseason or once the regular season began. But Emmanuel Sanders knew he was going to be ready by week 1 of the regular season when the Broncos play their first regular season game. But the Broncos are happy to have Emmanuel Sanders back. Emmanuel Sanders is their number one wide receiver. So they needed Emmanuel Sanders back on offense. And with the Broncos now having Joe Flacco at the quarterback position, Joe Flacco needs Emmanuel Sanders, especially since Emmanuel Sanders is the number one wide receiver. And Emmanuel Sanders is probably going to be Joe Flacco's main target. So we're going to have to wait and see how the regular season unfolds for the Broncos. But hopefully, Joe Flacco is an upgrade at the quarterback position. The Broncos had Case Keenum as their quarterback last season, and this season, the Broncos have Joe Flacco as their quarterback. So we're going to have to wait and see if Joe Flacco is better and different compared to Case Keenum. Or is Joe Flacco like Case Keenum, and he's not really an upgrade, but he's just more expensive. So after Joe Flacco got traded from the Ravens, the Broncos decided to continue his contract. So we're going to have to wait and see how Joe Flacco plays for the Broncos. But Joe Flacco is happy that Emmanuel Sanders is back. Emmanuel Sanders is happy that he's back. Emmanuel Sanders will definitely be Joe Flacco's number one target. And Emmanuel Sanders will definitely be one of Joe Flacco's favorite targets. And he'll be his number one wide receiver. Throughout the preseason, the Broncos have been really struggling on offense, especially in the red zone, trying to score points. The Broncos haven't been able to score touchdowns, or they're landing up just kicking field goals. Now, I know it's the preseason, and the starters don't play that long, but we're going to have to wait and see how the Broncos offense plays against the Rams in their third preseason game, but especially in the red zone. So we're going to have to wait and see how the Broncos play in their third preseason game. Now, I know the starters don't play that long, but if the Broncos can't score in the red zone in the preseason, I hope this doesn't continue on into the regular season. Because if this continues on into the regular season, this ain't going to be good for the Broncos. And if they can't score points, especially touchdowns instead of field goals, that can determine if the Broncos win or lose games. In the regular season, that's when the games count. So we're going to have to wait and see how the Broncos play on offense, especially in the red zone for the rest of the preseason and going into the regular season. The Broncos lost to the 49ers 15-24 in their second preseason game on Monday, August 19th here in Denver at Mile High Stadium. This is the third week of preseason football. The Broncos' third preseason game is against the Rams in Los Angeles on Saturday, August 24th. In the NFL preseason power rankings, the current top 10 NFL football teams are the Patriots, Chiefs, Saints, Rams, Eagles, Chargers, Bears, Colts, Cowboys, and Browns. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. Patrick Patterson and the Clippers have agreed to a one-year contract. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college football and the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college football. Former Texas and NFL running back Cedric Benson died this week in a motorcycle accident in Austin, Texas at the age of 36. This weekend, the 2019 college football season begins. The two college football teams and players to keep an eye on this season is Clemson, Alabama, quarterback Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. So here are the odds for the teams to win the 2020 College Football National Championship. This includes Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Texas. After Clemson won the 2019 College Football National Championship, Clemson definitely wants to win the 2020 College Football National Championship and win back-to-back College Football National Championships. There's no doubt that Clemson's going to be one of the best college football teams this season. Even Alabama will be one of the best college football teams this season, like they always are every season. So we're going to have to wait and see if Clemson reaches the College Football National Championship game this season and if they win the 2020 College Football National Championship. We may also see a rematch between Clemson and Alabama, since Clemson and Alabama went against each other in the 2019 College Football National Championship. We're just going to have to wait and see who are the top 4 college football teams towards the end of the season and what 2 teams reached the College Football National Championship game this year. But if I were to pick the 2 teams that are going to be the best college football teams this season, it's definitely going to be Clemson and Alabama. And if I were to pick one of the 2 teams that could possibly win the 2020 College Football National Championship, it's either going to be Clemson or Alabama, since they're going to be one of the best college football teams this season. And I could definitely see a rematch in this year's College Football National Championship game between Clemson and Alabama. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens in college football this season. This is only the beginning. We have the whole season. And once the season comes down to the end, and all the college football standings come out with the top 25 teams in college football and the top 4 college football teams, we're going to have to wait and see what teams those are. And once we see the rankings in college football and what teams they are, then we can go from there and we can determine what 2 teams will reach the College Football National Championship and what team could possibly win the College Football National Championship this season. So we're just going to have to wait and see how the college football season plays out. But this is only the beginning, and I'm definitely looking forward to the college football season. And college football is finally back, and I can't wait for it to begin. So the 2019 Heisman Trophy odds includes Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Fields. I could definitely see quarterback Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama or quarterback Trevor Lawrence from Clemson winning this year's Heisman Trophy. It's just going to depend on what quarterback plays better and what team plays better. So if Clemson has a better season or if Alabama has a better season, then that's the quarterback that's going to win this year's Heisman Trophy. So we're going to have to wait and see what player wins this year's Heisman Trophy, but it's definitely going to be Tua Tagovailoa or Trevor Lawrence. In the preseason college football AP Top 10 poll, the current top 10 college football teams are Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, Michigan, Florida, Notre Dame, and Texas. Moving on now to the show, what to watch for this week in sports. The Broncos' third preseason game is against the Rams in Los Angeles on Saturday, August 24th. The third week of NFL preseason football. This weekend, the 2019 college football season begins. Major League Baseball. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, and NBA basketball. I hope you all have a great weekend. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.